Okay, Kareem, if or anybody from the organizing team, if you can hear me clearly.
Yes,
Yes,
we
we
can.
can.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, please let me introduce myself. So, I am Mr. Paul Darrell Omeneses, and I am the IPSF Pharmacy Education Advocacy Coordinator. And I am very thrilled to welcome everyone to the 7th IPSF Nanjing Statements Anniversary Webinar 2023. Before we dive into our exciting program, let's go over a few housekeeping items. So, for the IPSF finger rules, you may type an I if you have a new comment on a current topic, or type I if you have, or you can type two letter I's if a current topic is being discussed and you would like to comment, or a small letter T on the chat box if you experience any technical issues or difficulties. As we go on to the webinar, please, if we can mute ourselves as well while having the webinar, that would be greatly appreciated. Additionally, please keep the following guidelines. Please mute your microphones while having your microphone muted when you are not speaking to minimize the background noise. Use of also the video. You can also utilize the video option as well to enhance the interactive experience, and also utilize the chat features that we also have in the Zoom as well for questions, for comments and discussions, but also be respectful and mindful of the others' opinions. We also have a certain Q&A session, or the question and answer portion, where we will have a dedicated session for your questions. Please type in or ask or prepare your questions to be asked by voicing them out later in the Q&A session, and we will be addressing them during the allotted time. And lastly, you can also use the hand raise function or the feature. If you have a question to comment or questions, you can also use the feature, and you can also unmute to speak once you are being acknowledged. So to start off our program, may I call on Mr. Kareem Arafat, the current IPSF Chairperson of Pharmacy Education 2023-2024, to give his opening remarks for the event. Let us all give him a virtual warm round of applause. Kareem, the floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul, for your amazing introduction. Greetings, everyone. I hope all you're doing great. On behalf of IPSF, I extend a warm welcome to all of our participants today, which make a great significant milestones as we celebrate the 7th anniversary of the Nanjing Statements. Your presence here already contributes to the success of this event. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Karim Arafat. I'm from Egypt. I'm the IPSF Pharmacy Education Chairperson, and I'm a senior pharmacy student at Al Azhar University, Cairo. As IPSF, it's my great honor to welcome you all to this momentous occasion as we gather here today to celebrate the 7th anniversary of the Nanjing Statements. This joint webinar with the FIP serves as a platform to increase awareness and understanding of the Nanjing Statements and their significance in shaping the future of pharmacy education. As IPSF Pharmacy Education Committee, we are committed to enhancing pharmacy education, pharmaceutical science, and pharmacy practice through our effective programs and initiatives. So our primary goal is to empower pharmacy students and recent graduates to become leaders in healthcare settings. We firmly believe that a strong foundation in education is the key to building a successful career in pharmacy. The Nanjing statements hold a special place in our hearts as they encapsulate the collective vision of FIP and WHO to advance pharmacy practice and pharmaceutical sciences. These statements emphasize the importance of patient-centered care, interprofessional education, and the integration of technology in the pharmacy practice. They provide a roadmap for us to navigate the evolving landscape of the healthcare and ensure that the pharmacists play a vital role in improving global health outcomes. So I encourage all of the participants here to actively engage in the discussions and share their opinions and insights as well. Together, let's seize this opportunity to be part of our commitment to advance pharmacy education and pharmacy practice worldwide. Once again, I extend my whole welcome and my warmest welcome to each and every one of you in this webinar. So let us embark on this journey together, united in our dedication to transform pharmacy education and create a brighter future for our profession. Thank you so much. And here, the floor is yours, Paul, again. Please go ahead.
Thank you for those inspiring words of wisdom, Kareem. Your insights has set a powerful tone for our event today, emphasizing the profound impact of the Nanjing statements on our shared journey in pharmacy education. To also grace the virtual stage, we also have our amazing and inspiring dear speaker, the 10th president of ACPHS, and the representative from FIP, Professor Toyin Tafad. Professor Toyin illustrious journey in the realm of pharmacy leadership includes serving as a dean and professor at the Howard University College of Pharmacy in Washington, D.C. Her multifaceted roles at the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy and Baltimore, including associate professor and assistant dean, highlights her commitment to advancing pharmacy education and practice. A trailblazer, Professor Toyin also made history as the first Black female to also lead the International Pharmaceutical Federation's academic pharmacy section, as the former president-elect and now as the current president, representing over 5 million pharmacists globally. Recognized internationally, she was also the inaugural Black woman named as an FIP Fellow in 2018 for her outstanding leadership, distinguished pharmaceutical science, and contribution to the advancement of pharmacy. On the national stage, Professor Toyin was elected to the Board of American Association of Colleges of Pharmacy in 2020 and actively participated in the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Her impactful efforts extends to facilitating meetings with industry leaders and contributing to pharmacy coalitions meeting aimed at advancing provider status. Her accolades are testament to her commitment and impact, including the Albany Business Review's 2023 Power 50 listing, the ASPH 2022 Board of Directors Donald E. Frank Medal, and the UNC Elcheman School of Pharmacy 2021 Pharmacy Alumni Association Distinguished Service Award. As the 10th president of the ACPHS and also the representative of FIP Academic Pharmacy Section for today's webinar, we have Professor Toyin that will bring a wealth of knowledge and expertise in pharmacy education. Please join me once again in welcoming Professor Toyin. Let's all give her a wonderful round of applause. Professor Toyin, the floor is all yours.
Wow, what a glowing testament. Thank you so much for having me today. And I am so proud of the International Pharmacy Student Federation. You are all inspiring leaders, and you do what you do, and you continue to make us honest. And it's an honor to be here today. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen briefly to provide some remarks. Welcome. I want to say fantastic remarks, Mr. Kareem Arafat. That was really nice, and we're so grateful. And thank you for your kind moderation, Paul. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to be bringing greetings from the academic pharmacy section. And when I was hearing all those words spoken about me, I was thinking, wow, who is that they're talking about, actually? Giving all glory to God, I'm grateful to be here today to share. And so this is our 7th year anniversary of the Nanjing statements. And thank you for reminding us about this. The reason why I keep thanking you is because we're in the middle of revising these statements. And so while I may not be able to share details about that revision, I want to thank you for continuing to keep it alive for us. So if you are on mute, we thank you for joining us, but please make sure to mute yourself as Paul had notified earlier. And thank you again for joining us today. I have a few comments to share, and we're going to be hearing about some testimonials, and I want to give them plenty of time to share how they've been using the Nanjing statement. So thank you again for your attention. So what we will be talking about really is what has transpired since the time that the Nanjing statements were launched. 2016, time has flown. It's been 7 years. We'll talk a little bit about the global advancements and implementation of the Nanjing statements. And I put my Twitter handle there in case you wanted to, connect in some way, shape, or form. I'm also on LinkedIn. And so happy to connect in that regard. The Nanjing Global Conference started in 2016, as many of you might know, but some of you may not be aware of where this journey started, and you're curious, what in the world are the Nanjing statements? It started out with the Global Vision and Education Workforce documents, which we have here, and also the actual statements that were published in 2017. There were about 13 workforce development goals at that time, and the reason why it's called the Nanjing Statement is because the conference was held in Nanjing, China, a very beautiful location in Asia. So one of the things that we want you to be aware of is there are several outcomes that came out of this conference. And one, of course, as I mentioned, is the Global Vision for Education and Workforce. And this was presented really to highlight pharmacy and pharmaceutical sciences education. And through this vision, FIP was really seeking to support and develop high standards of education and training, and to promote and protect the health and well-being of civil society through leadership and development of our professional workforces, and to ensure our contribution to the health and well-being of patients. So the key was really to have statements that will guide universities and ministries of education with regards to what we believe is the global vision for education as far as pharmacy and pharmaceutical sciences is concerned. Another outcome that came out of that was therefore 67 statements grouped into 8 clusters, which are listed here, and designed primarily for education providers, as I'd mentioned. In this particular document, it also included some information for some of the CPD providers. CPD stands for Continuing Professional Development. And the hope was that there will be an opportunity for self-assessment and monitoring, identification of gaps and strategic planning, and perhaps improving the process of education. So the role for students is to continue to hold us accountable and start asking those questions. Are we self-assessing? Are we monitoring? Are we identifying our gaps accordingly? Another outcome that came up from this was really the workforce development goals, as I had mentioned. And this aligned actually with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the WHO. FIP works collaboratively with these organizations in order to continue to deliver health care, and specifically to the education arm of FIP. The Nanjing statement helps to align nicely with the SDG 4, which specifically speaks to some of the training. So these 13 workforce development goals arose, and they were across 3 groups: the academy, professional development, and systems. And they actually were considered, measurable, feasible, and tangible. And the key is really to have all the leaders and stakeholders rely on these for assessing what their current state is, identify what the gap is, how might we help with capacity, and assist in developing strategies at the national level or regional level for that matter, and for engagement and dialogue with policymakers so you can begin to move and progress with regards to current states and getting to future state. So the vision and goals were listed here, and the clear thing was that without agreement on a vision, you can't really set a direction, right? You have to say, this is where I want to go. That's your vision. And then you can progress towards it and map out a plan to get to that goal. So hence those documents. All of these FIP documents are available online. We wouldn't have time to go into it in sufficient detail. I want to make sure we get to those testimonials. And there's a full report of the FIP's global conference, which was released in 2017, at the link that is listed here. Ultimately, since that time, the FIP development goals have expanded to become 21 from 13, because as we can see with the sustainable development goals, there are so many other areas that we haven't been touching as FIP. And the core interest was really to make sure that we adopted a one FIP approach. And many of you know our late president, Dominique Jourdan, was very adamant about one FIP, meaning all the arms of FIP coming together, whether it be science, practice, education, with the aim of transforming the global pharmacy workforce, practice, and science. So education, practice, and science suddenly became key stools and pillars for which we did all this work. And so it was where the 21 development goals therefore developed. Each of these 21 FIP development goals comprise essential workforce, practice, and science elements. When you go on the website, you'll be able to see that for each goal, for example, it is broken out into what is it that we're going to do for a practice standpoint, what is it we're going to do from an education standpoint, and what are we going to do from a science standpoint. So here is an example of the first workforce development goal on academic capacity, for example, and you'll be able to see how it lists out in terms of education development policies, ready access to leaders in all sectors. On the practice training side, what exactly it is we're going to do with regards to foundation training, pathways for advancement, and then with regards to capacity to deliver quality pharmaceutical sciences education and training for pharmacists. You will notice that we are very careful to include practice and science and education in all the components, because you might imagine the diversity of how pharmacy training occurs around the world. In some sectors of the world, it is heavy in science. In other sectors of the world, it's heavy in practice. It is essential for FIP or to present a united front where we are very much sensitive to all these components of pharmacy in our documents. And that's what you will see from all the goals from number 1 to 21. How can you then be successful in implementing this? You might be curious. In your respective regions, it's important for you to understand that here is a framework that I want to give credit to Professor Ian Bates and Dr. Lena Bada of the FIP Workforce Development Hub that has now transitioned to become the FIP Hub because of the vastness of the projects that had grown from 13 workforce development goals to 21. It was essential for the Bureau of FIP to therefore oversee all of this work and the products and the publications and the projects that had been coming from it. But to be successful in this implementation is necessary to make sure that needs-based implementation of Nanjing outcomes on a country level. We must use specific tools that will be useful and help us get results. We must engage and disseminate. We can't just keep this document on our shelves. We must look at it. We must identify gaps. We must have conversations, increase stakeholder engagement, for example, and partnership building. And then we must monitor and evaluate the plan. What are the results that we have identified from the work that we have, the projects we have executed, and then to see what do we need to revise, and you continue that process until you get to desired execution results. So again, I want to give credit to Professor Ian Bates, who was the brainchild for the Workforce Development Hub many, many moons ago, 2016, I would like to say, and a key driver in the FIP Hub. There are lots of questions you all have. I want to be respectful of our time and give some opportunities for the testimonials. I think, is this a good time for us to do that? Otherwise, I have some responses regarding some questions you might have regarding international collaborations in pharmacy education that have been facilitated by FIP.
I think Professor Toyin, we can have maybe your answer to this question later at the Q&A, because this has been several questions that have been made also asked to this question. So I think our participants will also be really interested to have this question be listed as a part of the Q&A later during the session.
Fantastic. Over to you, Paul and Mr. Karim, and thank you all for your participation so far. It is my pleasure to be here representing FIP, and thank you.
Thank you very